So I am Jerry Ann Seigan, and I am the co-founder, along with my husband, Brian Seigan, of The Exercise Coach. I am a certified health coach with specialties in intestinal and digestive health. And I am the author of that lovely book that we're all very familiar with, The Exercise Coach Nutrition Playbook, and the creator of the 30-day Metabolic Comeback Challenge. So hopefully that's a good thing. and hopefully I'm endeared for that and not the other way around, but I can understand both ways. We founded the Exercise Coach in 2000 at the very end and opened our first Exercise Coach studio in 2001. I am excited to share, and then we also franchised in 2011. I'm excited to share that at this point we have over 100 locations in the United States and over 35 in Japan. And we are considered one of the 150 fastest growing franchises in America. So that's a real shout out to all of you. And next year, or by the end of this year, we actually will be the #1 personal training fitness brand in the USA. So thank you all for making that happen and for supporting us along the way. And Amy, why don't you share a little bit about your background?
Great. Yes, we are very privileged to have Jerry Ann and facilitate this group. Being the author of the playbook, all the questions we may ever have, we have the answers because we have the author of the book right here. So I'm Amy Hudson. Everybody, you may know me from, of course, facilitating this group. I'm the one who helps put out those recipes of the week. I do some social media content curation for the Exercise Coach. I'm also the co-host of the Strength Changes Everything podcast, which I hope you're all listening to. We want to encourage you through that podcast, as well as I own 2 studios here in the Minnesota area. Hi, clients who are on from the Eden Prairie store or the Minnetonka location. We've owned the Eden Prairie location that opened in 2017. Minnetonka opened in 2019. We love serving our clients here locally with the awesome Exercise Coach brand and how it changes lives. So super passionate about the way the Exercise Coach, whole food nutrition and whole effort exercise can really change people's lives for the long haul. So that is really me. I see your comments here, and if I look this way, I'm looking at your comments. So thanks so much for checking in. I'm seeing a lot of people saying hello. The other thing we would like to know beyond that you're here is also if you have a testimonial to share or an experience of yours doing a challenge, whether it was this last challenge or in the past, please share your experience or a testimonial or a success story that you had doing the metabolic comeback. And as you share those, we'll be talking, but we would love to shout some of you out at the end, and so we can all see those and be encouraged. All right, so Jerry Ann, I'm going to pass the ball back to you. Let's talk about the metabolic comeback.
Yes, we'll definitely do that. And before I go on, as Amy was mentioning, your studios are all very interested in hearing your testimonials. If you wouldn't mind providing even just a headshot or perhaps a body shot of yourself in front of one of our pieces of equipment, we just love to show you off. We're so proud of you. And so if you would do that for us, we would just be so thankful for that. So the Exercise Coach program in general is called the Metabolic Comeback. The Metabolic Comeback is a combination of whole effort exercise combined with whole food nutrition. And we like to say that creates a whole new you. And so we think that those 2 things go hand in hand to give you great health. The 30-day Metabolic Comeback Challenge is really a portion of the Metabolic Comeback. And of course, you're all familiar because many of you have just completed it, or you might be halfway through or even have a week to go, or perhaps you've done one in the past, so you're familiar. And that's a process of kind of jump-starting your metabolism, jump-starting some metabolic activity that's going on inside of your body, such as reducing systemic inflammation. It's in the book, you've read about it. That is inflammation at the cellular level. You might not even know you're experiencing it but many of you have gone through a challenge and just feel so much better. You realize that there's something going on. Why do I just feel this sense of well-being? Well, it's probably due to some reduction in some systemic inflammation. Regulation of blood sugar. You're going to go and you're not going to feel the shakes all the time from your highs and lows of your blood sugar. And possibly when you go to the doctor's office, you might actually have a better fasting, blood glucose test, or even a better A1C. We are totally shooting for that. And you're going to notice improvement, and we're hoping you do, improvement in some digestive and gut health, and overall just feeling of just a better digestion going on. And, you have to understand, our gut is our second brain. It literally is. Our immune system, just a large portion of our immune system resides in the gut. So what you eat and how you take care of your gut literally is going to affect how you age and how you feel as you get older. So I cannot emphasize how critical it is to have good gut health. And Amy's going to go over some of the examples of what some of these things might look like, practically speaking.
Yeah, so if you've done the challenge, it's designed to tackle these three big troublemakers: systemic inflammation, as Jerry Ann just said, regulation of blood sugar levels in the body, and then that improved digestive and gut health. So stuff to look for, or examples of what these improvements may actually look like practically in your life and in your body, include better sleep, more consistent energy throughout the day. You're not having these surges of energy and these crashes of cravings or hunger or energy dips throughout the day. If you're experiencing that, that's a good sign. You may experience less pain in your joints and in your muscles. People have commented about that. More, an improvement in bloating. So decreased bloating in your belly area, even kind of like in your face too, kind of like a tightening up or a glow in that face. Those are a result of these improvements to our health. Feeling like you have digested your food better, that feeling of calm in your gut that we talked about, that is a result. That overall sense of well-being, the other surprising one here too, is reduced feelings of anxiety and depression is often a result of regulating the blood sugar in our body and decreasing that inflammation in the body. There's ties between that sugar consumption and rates of anxiety and depression, Alzheimer's and dementia. So, taking those supervillains out really goes a long way to warding some of those things off, which is an amazing benefit that we love to see. And of course, weight loss, fluid loss, reduction in kind of that lean mass or body fat level. Those are all benefits. If your body is experiencing any of those, it means really that the challenge has kind of done its job for you. And of course, those depend on how closely you've stuck to the challenge, but eliminating those supervillains, the other main goal we have for doing this challenge, which you hear me probably harp on a lot, is just learning how to love eating whole foods. I like to say learning how to love the foods that love you back, learning how to cook with those whole foods, learning new recipes, learning how to make whole food swaps maybe to your traditional processed foods. I know we've had a lot of examples in the group this last challenge of people switching out ingredients that are in the supervillain category for whole food ingredients to make other things that are not going to do the same damage to your body because they're made with whole foods. And just learning how to enjoy eating whole food to maintain the positive metabolic trajectory that we're looking for. The combination of strength training, we're naturally losing muscle mass as we get older. And so strength training twice a week at the exercise coach helps to stop and reverse that process of our muscle loss. And then on top of that, eating a whole food diet keeps our metabolism and our metabolic trajectory on a positive. And unfortunately, most people's default eating and nutritional habits are probably not positive, right? We have to kind of think about it. We have to work on it. And so that is why we're here in the group, to support that healthy lifestyle that we want you to experience, and then ongoing that 80-20 lifestyle. So Jerry Ann, let's talk a little bit more about the 80-20 lifestyle that we talk about. What does that look like? Let's talk a little bit about that.
Great, perfect. Yes, let's talk about the 80-20 lifestyle. So in your nutrition playbook on page 56 to 58, that's where you're going to find a discussion about life after the metabolic comeback challenge and this, this eating for a lifetime that we call our 80-20 plan. Now that's just math. So we're going to talk about some different math that you might have for your particular after the metabolic comeback challenge. So life after the metabolic comeback challenge is going to be a little bit different for every single person who's done the challenge. And it's going to depend on your bio-individuality. Okay, we react differently, but it's also primarily going to depend upon your goals and objectives to begin with. So let's say that you're someone who did the challenge to try to learn to eat healthier, to make better choices. Well, if that's the case, then obviously we're going to want you to keep on doing that. We don't want to say, okay, well, you're done now, go back to making bad choices, right? So for you, that 80-20 is probably going to be a great place to end up, to work on eating things like bakery items, pasta and cheese, maybe about like say 20% of the time, while you're spending the other 80% of the time choosing those same foods that you were choosing when you were on the actual 30-day metabolic comeback challenge. So there's a great example of someone who's going to be 80-20. If you were someone, let's say, who did the challenge though, to begin a weight loss journey, well, the work's going to be a little bit harder for you because you actually have a weight loss goal, which we're thrilled about. So you're going to want to stick to foods that are allowed on the challenge, probably closer to about 95% of the time, with giving yourself about a 5% margin here and there to have that occasional sweet, so that you're not so strict and so unbalanced that it just all blows up in your face. We definitely don't want that to happen. And another thing is you're going to be someone who's going to stick closer to portion sizes, because when you're trying to lose weight, you can certainly gain weight eating a lot of great whole foods, right? So we do have to stick to our portion sizes so that you can continue onward and reach your weight loss goal. I know that weight loss for some can be a very long journey, but you have to remember it was a long journey to put that weight on. It didn't come on in, a month. And so it's not going to all come off in a month. But the beauty of this program is that it's not a diet. It's just eating whole foods and eating and controlling your portion sizes when you're losing weight. That's really all it is. And so the longer you do it, the more you're going to come to appreciate the taste of real food. And actually, when you do start to taste some sweets or some other foods that are just not good choices, you'll be surprised at how you're not even going to like them. They're going to taste off to you. And we're okay with, even when you're trying to lose weight, we're okay with having a piece of birthday cake, for your birthday or your spouse's birthday, or just giving yourself that occasional treat. We are okay with that. We know that life is a real thing that we're living, and we understand. If you're someone who did the challenge and learned how you felt so much better when you eliminated certain foods, like let's say grains or dairy, and then you add them back in after the challenge and you start to notice that, gee, I don't feel as good. I'm bloated, I have a runny nose, I have a rash, I have gas, I have headaches, my anxiety and my depression are all coming on back. Well, guess what? You probably have either a food sensitivity, an intolerance, or maybe even an allergy. And so for you, you're going to want to eliminate those food groups, if not entirely, almost entirely, if you truly want to feel better. So it's really a time for some that you've explored and you found out, man, I've been eating, I've been drinking a glass of milk every day before I go to bed. Well, guess what? Don't drink that anymore. Drink a glass of cashew milk instead if it has to be some kind of a milky substance. So these are the things that you've learned. So life after the challenge, bottom line, looks a little differently for everyone. Everyone's math might be a little bit different. And Amy, I'm going to throw it back to you then.
Yeah, and one really good tip as you do reintroduce foods is to keep a log or a journal. Especially when you are, adding foods back in that you haven't been consuming over the 30 days, to pay attention to how those make you feel. Jerry-Ann mentioned a few, but let's really bloating, gas, runny nose, rash, anxiety, fatigue, depression, inability to sleep, joint pain. watch for those things and pay attention then to what you've been eating so that you know, is this food doing me any favors or is this causing unwanted side effects? And you can learn so much about your own body as you follow that reintroduction. And we do encourage you, if possible, to try and reintroduce one food group at a time. If you could do about a week's time, doing, you know, adding dairy products back in and noticing how it's going, keeping a journal, and then, you know, maybe grains the following week, things like that. That's the ideal. It's not always possible, but use it as a learning experience and use the hard work you put in to your advantage to learn more about yourself. And actually, as your comments are coming in, let us know if you're here watching, you know, if you plan to continue 80-20, 90-10, 95-5, and why. I know some of you have shared with us what your plans are, but let us know what you plan to do here in the comments as well. As you guys are doing that, I would love to read a couple testimonials from the group, and just so we can celebrate some people's success here during these last 30 days. So here's one. This is from Gwen. Gwen says, I'm so excited. Today checked in and compared numbers to the ones from the beginning of the challenge. The ones that needed to go down did. The rest went up. So less fat, more muscle. Yay, she says. I'm so pumped with this. I doubt I'll make many changes, but I'll allow some room for an occasional item. I'm really so happy to have cut sugar. I had been struggling with this for a long time. And as much as I'd love some, she calls them Grater's black raspberry chocolate chips, so it's her favorite cookie or something, or ice cream. For now, I'll stay away from the things that trigger me. So Gwen, congratulations, like kicking that sugar, those cravings for sugar go a really long way. One tip is that, you know, if you do reintroduce sugary things, what I've noticed is the more you do add them back in, the more you'll crave them. So just notice those things. Here's one from Carol. She says, I'm so happy I finally did the challenge. So she's a first timer. She says, first of all, it was not even close to how hard I thought it might be. We hear that a lot, right? I will do it again and stay focused on the 80-20 plan. What worked for me was the accountability to staying in the parameters of the plan. I was not good about trying new recipes, but did bring in different food decisions. So she's just, you know, keeping it simple, but staying in the parameters that we gave. My success was in losing some weight and gaining muscle. I have more energy, better sleep, and overall feel better. Thanks for all the support, and I will slowly dabble in the new recipes. So she promises to try some.
That's awesome. And I'm going to have Amy read a few more, but I'm just going to say one more thing here is that the bottom line is that we hear these great testimonials. I've read everything that you guys have put in the group, which is just so encouraging to me and so exciting to me. I just don't want you to put all your hard work to waste. You know, that's what I just don't want you to do. And so whatever mathematical fraction, you know, and that's of course just a symbolic thing, whatever you put into place, 80-20, 95-5, 90-10, you know, try to stick to it and figure out how that is going to look in your particular life. Is that going to be every day I'm going to allow myself, you know, a piece of cheese, that's my 20%, or I'm going to be totally on the challenge still for 5 days, and every sixth day, maybe I'm going to allow myself to go out to eat, which is really difficult to do a challenge when you're out to eat. We know that. So you just have to figure out like what works best in your life. It might be a combination of those things as well. But what I'd love everyone to adopt is a mindset that health is a journey. It is not a destination. So many diets, quote unquote diets, want you to be on a destination. This is a journey. We you know, when you're on vacation, you go on and off vacation. We understand what life brings. And the more and more that you're doing it, and I know I hear from other challengers who've done their third, their fourth, it becomes a better journey. You become familiar with the territory to where you're traveling, if I can use that little, you know, hypothetical example. So pick one thing even that is a habit that you had that can be broken. I would love for everyone on the challenge to be able to say, I broke one major bad habit this particular challenge. I often hear a lot of success stories about, I no longer have to drink diet soda. That's a big one, right, Amy? I hear that one. It's also artificial sweeteners. That's on the never eat list anyway. So I'm hoping that the never eat list can certainly become one of the first things that everybody works to eliminate. Or maybe it's not having cow's milk, or maybe it's adding in a lot more water because you weren't a water drinker. So whatever it is, if it's swapping out cauliflower for pasta and rice, there's just so many things you can pick that are, one thing that okay, I came out of this challenge and I have one thing that I just never do anymore. And that's what I call resolve. I like to call things resolve more than willpower. I look at willpower as, okay, I'm not going to eat that piece of cake, but you know darn well you're going to eat that piece of cake later. At some point in your life, you're not giving it up forever. So resolve is, I'm going to resolve and say, I just love on myself, and putting these artificial sweeteners in my body is taking life out of me. It's reducing my lifespan. It could cause me things like cancer. I'm just not going to do it anymore. It's a resolve. There's so many things in your life that you resolve not to do or to do. And that's what I'm asking from every challenge, is that you don't make it this major, huge overhaul. And some people are capable of that, but many people are not capable of that. And that's okay. One thing leads to a lot. So I'm going to let Amy go ahead and read some more uplifting testimonials.
Yeah, that's such great wisdom though, Jerry Ann, and it's so important. I think one of the things for me is like not eating after 7 p.m. or just, sort of like stopping for the night and not, even if a craving comes along, which they don't now that the challenge is over, but those are the times of the night where you used to have one. Like, I don't need that. And I feel better. My digestion's better the next day. And even in the evening, giving my system some time off. So yeah, I totally agree. And the whole concept of 80-20 or 90-10 or whatever it may be is not treating it like a light switch. It's on or it's off, or it's all or it's nothing. And one other thought related to what you just said is, sometimes if you're like me, I'm a person who, if I know better, I do better. So knowledge can be power. If I know what sugar does in my system, if I know how grains make me feel and I learned about that, then I innately now have a desire to not do that and not subject myself in that way. So if you're like me, maybe that's your motivation. But thank you for sharing that. I've got a couple more here. Let's see. Kimberly, I'm finished, down 15 more pounds. So Kimberly has done this in the past. Taking a week off, but not taking off 100%. I feel and look great. And congratulations. Just let's name it and claim it, Kimberly. Good. I love that. You look great. 47 more pounds to my goal. This is truly the best program I've ever been on.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yes, that is not a new statement, Jerry Ann. We hear that a lot, that we find that this program is doable. It's enjoyable even. So thank you guys for sharing that. Brenda says, so glad I stuck with the challenge. Only a handful of cheats. And what I like about that comment is, it's, again, she didn't make one cheat she didn't make that mean she failed. She got back on the train, which we keep saying, right? She says, feeling better all around. Who knew I was eating so much sugar? I will continue to pause before I put something in my mouth and believe I have finally kicked the diet soda habit.
Yay.
Thank you, exercise coach. All right, one more. Pour on. Yay. I know you're out live from Eden Prairie. So she says, I'm so glad that I did it. I will stick to it longer. What's not to like about healthy, easy, delicious, whole food? I agree. I actually spent less on groceries, even though I bought organic and specialty products. Few inches thinner and lost a little, but feeling great. Thank you to all my wonderful coaches and all of the support on the Facebook group, Amy and Jerry Ann, for being there and answering my questions. You are welcome. We enjoy this. I hope you can tell. We are cheering you on, and we just want you to feel like you can do it and you can do anything you put your mind to.
Those are awesome. Those are just, they'll make my day today, that's for sure. So please make sure as you go through your guidebook on page 57 and 58 that you notice I have lists of eat daily, eat sometimes, eat rarely, eat often, and eat never. Those lists are not for the 30-day challenge. Those are for the ongoing, because there are things that are in those lists that are not allowed on the 30-day metabolic comeback challenge, but are surely still whole foods. For example, beans, if you can tolerate them, or oats, things like that. There are things that are great whole foods that we just take off the challenge because we know that those are often some culprits of food intolerances. And so then you get to add them back in, but they're still a great option if you can tolerate them. For example, I don't really eat beans. I don't tolerate them very well. It just really causes digestive upset for me. So I know that, but if someone else can eat beans, that's just perfectly fine. So just look at those lists and make sure that when you are incorporating that 80-20 lifestyle or whatever mathematical lifestyle you're incorporating, that you do kind of look at those lists and realize that some things are just like eat as much as you can all the time. And there's just some that you can have them, but really kind of keep them to more of a minimum. Another thing is don't go on a crash diet of any kind. Some people start to see some successes in weight loss and they think, oh my gosh, this is great. Now my next step is I'm just going to reduce by far so much of the calories that I'm eating. The average woman burns about 1,200 calories just waking up in the morning. The man about 2,000. And then we add on depending upon what our activity levels are. So, if you're a woman who's eating 1,000 calories or lower a day, that is not a healthy proposition. We don't actually advocate counting calories, more portion size, but literally you are just hurting yourself and harming your body if you are consuming too little of a calories. And so, again, we're not counting calories, but certainly for a woman, if you want to, know what your calorie count is, you're going to lose weight. I guarantee it on about 1,500 calories a day. If you are also exercising twice a week at the exercise coach, I guarantee it. And it's going to be healthy weight loss. It's going to be 1 to 2 pounds a week, which is really where you're going to want to be long term. And so another thing we did have a question on, and so I'm going to address it, is intermittent fasting. Some people have asked about that. So intermittent fasting typically means that you have a window of time that you are going to be able to eat each day. And then you have this other window of time that you're not going to eat anything in a given day. So, intermittent fasting is something that became popular over the last few years, along with other diets, keto diet, for example. It's currently something that is in use by doctors for people who have small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. They have just a lot of bacteria in places that it should not be. And so I want to just be a little sciencey here for a second. What happens when you're fasting is that it gives your body the ability to use your gut's natural cleansing system to rid itself of bacteria through this process called the migrating motor complex, MMC, migrating motor complex in your body. And I bet you didn't even know you had an MMC. The MMC takes place between your stomach and your small intestine, in between meals when you're fasting. It's kind of like, the best way to describe it, it's a little housekeeper that's sweeping out all of the undigested food particles that should be actually going into the large intestine. So it's sweeping them to where they need to go. And it happens through contractions. The only time that this housekeeping can take place is in between meals when you're not eating. It cannot happen when you're eating. The entire cycle takes about 2 hours. So if you're eating more than, closer together than every 2 hours, you are never giving your body that opportunity, other than perhaps when you're sleeping, to do that very important housekeeping. And you could actually be feeling gassy and bloated because you have some bacterial overgrowth that's just not being cleaned out by this natural housekeeping system. So, not eating for about 3 to 4 hours in between meals is really a decent idea in terms of what we know scientifically is going on inside of our bodies with this house cleaning. Certainly if you have gut bacteria going on, you're going to want to do that. So in terms of intermittent fasting, what some people do is they'll say, I'm going to eat between, let's say 10 in the morning and 7 at night. That's their window of opportunity. So again, I am not here to recommend actual, intermittent fasting as far as being good for you or not good for you. It's totally bio-individual. Some people do fasting where they eat one day and they don't eat another day. I'll tell you, I have no ability to not eat in a given day. I will get massive headaches if I fast in a day. Even if I'm doing, people do juice fasts, which I don't really recommend because that's a lot of sugar. But I'm just not someone who's made to be able to do that. But I am someone who, because of my digestive system, I really do like to eat no later than 7 p.m. because I simply don't feel good when I go to bed with a full stomach or with, I take a little longer to digest. And so I'll even wake up in the middle of the night if I do that, if I've eaten a big meal after 7 p.m. I know it happens. You go out to dinner with friends, it happens. But I do know that doesn't make me feel very good. So one thing I can say from a sciencey point of view, it's a very good idea to have periods of time where you are not eating and you are not snacking, to let that housekeeping take place. In terms of anyone who really wants to do a true intermittent fasting, I'm always, as a health coach, going to recommend that it's something that you also talk to your doctor about, because you might have blood sugar issues, you might have other issues that I don't know about health-wise that might not be a healthy thing for you to do. So I always say, it might be a great thing to check with your doctor. But in terms of the positives, I can tell you that when you are fasting, insulin levels drop, human growth hormone increases, which is a good thing. Your cells also regenerate and repair during that process. So those are all very good things. So while I'm not saying you have to go to an extreme of I'm only going to eat in a 5-hour window, I am saying that it is probably a good idea to give yourself that time off to let your body do its thing. All right, let's see. Amy, so I want you to just talk a little bit about the resource and reference guide, make sure people know that that's available.
Yes, and we've got about 10 more minutes to be live with you guys today. So if there are, and you can tell I'm from the north, I say you guys instead of y'all. Sorry about that. If you're a y'all person. So if you have any other questions, type them now. But yes, we wanted to point this out, that in the back of your nutrition playbook is a really great reference guide full of links to helpful resources about all kinds of areas related to your health. And these links are available to clickable links within the nutrition playbook subscriber section of exercisecoach.com. So in your playbook, you have a code to log into the nutrition password protected site. And within that, you can receive the links to all these, but there are things like vitamins and nutrients, water. Jerrianne has done the legwork of going to these reputable sources to learn more about these different categories: soy, probiotics, all kinds of topics in here about health beyond just what we covered during the 30-day challenges in here. We also do encourage you, and many of you already have this done, but to keep the what should be on my plate guide handy as a picture in your phone. Here we go. So keep this, because when you're at the grocery store, it's so easy to just pull this up and say, oh, well, let me pick up some of these and some of that, and put my combinations together at home and kind of continue to try new foods and just make smart choices, that are going to help your body. So keep take advantage of those resources for your continued overall health and fitness. So let's check on any other questions. Do you have anything
else in the group going on that we need to, anyone want to ask us something off the cuff right now?
Gwen wanted to know what you mean by tolerating. So when you talk about tolerating foods versus not, when you're thinking.
That would be basically, are you having any kind of a reaction? So for example, if I eat beans, I'm going to be very bloated that night. I'm probably going to have a stomach ache. That's a reaction. I don't tolerate them. People drink dairy and their eczema just gets so much worse. which again, dairy is something that will not help your eczema. So tolerate means you can tolerate something if you literally are not noticing any form of anything strange going on or unusual, or you don't feel, bad when you're eating something. Now you could say, well, I tolerate, gummy bears really well. You don't. You might feel okay for the moment, but your cells are definitely having some inflammation going on, and you will find that out later on the line. So it is an interesting question because everything is not always tolerated immediately. You might think, I'm tolerating this. And so some of it is just going to be knowledge. Like you were saying, knowledge is power, Amy. Nobody tolerates sugar well. That's just a no. Nobody tolerates sugar well. Some people may gain weight versus others quicker, but that's just more of a bio-individual thing. But sugar is just going to be something that's just not really a good thing for anyone. So there's some things that are just a known fact.
We've got another question from Karen. Is A2 milk okay for most people?
A2 milk? I'm not familiar with
Yeah,
A2
Karen,
milk.
what is A2 milk?
Is that a lactose free milk or?
While she's typing that, Paula's question, she seems to notice that when she removed grain, sugar, and dairy, she actually had acne flare-ups. Any thoughts as to why she kind of experienced sort of an initial flare-up of acne versus a disappearance of it?
It could be a body retaliation. And when I say that, so those things are typical causes of acne, right? But your body has now become accustomed to these things being in there. And so when we remove some things like sugar, especially, study after study show how it's almost like you're going through a withdrawal. I'll call it a withdrawal. You're going to feel worse. You're going to have worse reactions, and it's going to take time because your body is revolting, and it might show that revolting in acne. It might show it in more rashes. It might show it in more bloating. It's not going to be forever though. And so that's why you want to get through that period of time so that your body is actually ridding itself of those toxins before it can get better. You always hear you get worse before you get better. That is not an untrue statement.
Yeah, it's acne is inflammatory. So when you're eating an anti-inflammatory diet, you're doing yourself a lot of favors.
Absolutely.
Stay with it. And Karen, she talks about the A2 protein milk. We may have to look up the ingredients and in it and then get back to you with the specifics on it. Dr. Gundry talks about it. She says, Jerry-Ann, A2 protein milk. Do you want to answer that now or research it?
I would have to look it up. I'm sure Dr. Gundry is a great guy. I listen to many of his things, but I would have to look that particular milk up. I'm not familiar with what the proteins are is it something added or taken away? I don't know. So I won't be able to answer that right now.
All right. So Karen, just stay tuned and we'll put an answer later in the comments. Thank you for your question. Okay. Well, that was all of the questions we had. I want to shout out Jan from Minnetonka because she said her cholesterol, did she say her cholesterol is down 50 points? Let me just double check that, but I think that is awesome. Those are some wonderful things. Let's see. Yes, cholesterol decreased 50 points. Yay, Jan.
That's fabulous. And something that, I would love for everybody who does a metabolic comeback challenge and then keeps it up to do like before and afters with their doctor. It's hard to ask to have that because it's a blood test that you would, need to do. But what you really, we see this all the time is that people are reducing their LDL cholesterol, but increasing their HDL cholesterol. So then your ratios are more where they're supposed to be. Your triglycerides, we see people lower their triglycerides on a regular basis. So besides the outward things that you see and feel, I can promise you, there are so many internal metabolic things that I actually care about even more going on when you're doing these challenges and when you're doing better nutrition. And the common thing, whatever the doctor will say, whatever you're doing, keep doing it.
Yes. And you know what, those triglycerides, cholesterol, waist circumference, things like that you just mentioned, Jerry-Ann, those are called health biomarkers. Mm-hmm. And they're measurable, quantifiable measurements, for lack of a better word, that we can quantify, that indicate the state of our health and our disease risk and thereby our longevity. And so improving those biomarkers goes a long way. And by the way, the top 2 biomarkers have to do with muscle mass and strength. So being an exercise coach client, you are already tackling that one. So way to go.
Those questions in your podcast as well. So you really can learn a ton about that.
Yes. So if you want to learn more about that, definitely go listen to the Strength Changes Everything podcast.
So we group, I just want to say the Facebook group we have, although we are extremely active when the studios around the country are doing challenges in, typically February and October, and we're going to probably stick to that schedule. We're extremely active and I love it. It's fun. But don't think that we're not there. We haven't gone away when it's not a national challenge type of a situation. You might be doing a challenge in your own studio that maybe other studios aren't doing. You might be doing a personal challenge. You might be keeping on going from a past challenge. Amy and I are here. We're, shout out in the group and we're going to shout out back to you. I think that people have developed relationships now with others around the country. So when you post, I think, there's still going to be participants from challenges who are going to, zap right back at you, post your pictures of food, do whatever you want. We're going to be there for you. So please remember that the group is active, and we're always there to give you encouragement. So our next chapter of the nationwide studio participation will be in October. We don't have the dates released yet, but it's October. And we would like I said, the group is open. I would love to, I don't want to wait till October to hear from you. So I'd love to hear from you before that. For those of you who are still in the middle of a challenge or have weeks to go, again, we are here. We're going to be looking to hear from you when we put a post out that says, hey, who's here with us? Please respond. Let us know that you're here because we really want to help you.
Mm-hmm. Yes, being an active participant in the group goes a long way for you, and you give and you receive by doing that. And we know this to be true. Well, we're going to wrap this up with a call to action. If you are watching this today or later and have participated in a challenge and have benefited, I'm going to call you to an action, and that is to share your experience. I want you to share your experience with someone, what you learned about health, what you learned about nutrition, and just how to eat well. And I want you to consider inviting a friend to your local exercise coach studio to join this journey of health that you're on. We're all on a journey. None of us have arrived. And so we shouldn't feel like we have to arrive first before being able to talk about this with somebody. We are all on a journey together, right? Health is a journey, not a destination. So encourage, if you know of a person who isn't engaging in exercise, who doesn't have the knowledge to eat healthy like you have gained here, or motivation, invite them to a studio, purchase a playbook for them maybe, and give that to them, and just say, hey, I totally enjoyed this. This has really helped me learn, and I'm still learning, but I'm growing here in this area. But you may be inspiring people in your life without even knowing it. I want you to know that you're an example to other people. You did the challenge. So in your own household, you probably inspired your family members by doing this, and you don't know all of the people that you impact all around the country by being in this Facebook group and just living your life and eating well and teaching others to do the same. So continue to be a great example to those around you, and want to encourage you in what you've done, and just encourage you to continue on as well. Let us know how we can continue to support you in your health journey, because we are cheering you on at all times.
Yeah, and as Amy was saying, we would love to work with your friends and family. We would totally enjoy it. We look for you to be our raving fans. And the only way we can become a bigger movement in America is through your help, through word of mouth. So we just are asking that you would refer us, possibly go on to our exercise coach Facebook page, and you could post a review there about your experiences. That's always helpful to us. And the one last thing I'll say is just why not? We have exercise coaches popping up all over the nation, and there's still more space. And so if you're someone who's entrepreneurial and think, wow, I want to actually own an exercise coach, you can do that. Just go onto our website, exercisecoach.com, and there's a link to franchising, and you can find out a lot more about us if it's something that's for you. So thank you so much. We just appreciate you. Thank you, Amy, for all the help that you provide to the group and to your studios and to the podcast and to what we just, and the way we're making an impact in the nation. I just want to say that we really are here to make an impact. We really care. And if you look at all the top fastest growing fitness franchises, every single one of them on the list, except for us, are owned by big investment groups. We're not. We're owned by me and my husband, Brian, and our partner, Brad. So we really are here and we want to do that. We want to care about you. We care so much about our message and our mission. And so we can't do it without you. And so thank you guys so much. I can't wait to talk to you again on the Facebook page. I know I'll probably hear from some of you today even. Amy, any other last words or just a goodbye?
Thanks for being with us today. We appreciate you. We're here to support you. We want to be your biggest fans. Thanks for engaging with us and stay in the group. The group will continue to be open, Gwen. So we will see you back in the Facebook group. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.